Hey everybody, Tyler with SlapDash Minis here. Just going to do a quick video showing how I'm going to paint up this building that Jerry built up from the how-to videos. I'm going to do it the same way that I did the rest of the buildings for the game chamber, mostly using an airbrush and some pigment washes. So let's go, we'll get this done and you'll see how I painted them up really quickly and effectively. I'm going to start off by spraying the building with a black primer. I'm going to use Vallejo surface primer. Well, this one is a German Panzer gray. It's a very dark gray just because they didn't have any black. And now that the basic black is sprayed, I'm going to give it a quick overspray of Vallejo surface primer white to create some difference between the black and the white. Okay, so that's pretty much all there is to that. I'm just trying to get some shadow difference so that when I do my colors, there's already some pre-shading going on. Nothing too major. I had some paint splatter there, but I'm not really worried about it because this is just background stuff. Okay, for the walls here, I randomly asked a color to use, and we're going with Falcon Turquoise for the color. It's kind of a nice bluey, kind of seafoam color, I guess you could say. I like to use bright colors on the walls, and then once I wash it, they come down to something darker. And now that that's done, I'm just going to simply add a little bit of white to the mix. Okay, for the lower half of the brick on the other buildings, I just simply painted red and then highlighted with some more white in it. This building we're going to try something different and do an off-white brick. So even though it's mostly white already, I've mixed a gray, just using a bit of the black and white that I had, and I'm going to spray that onto the stone here, which will also clean up the overspray from the color. Alright, for the metal bits, I'm going to use just the Army Painter War Paint Shining Silver, which I've watered down some. Again, I just use less from Awesome Paint Job. I use his thinning recipe, which I will link in the video if you're interested in learning how to thin your paints for your airbrush. And I'm just going to paint the metal bits with this silver. I use my finger a lot of the time as something to stop from the paint from getting on the other stuff. Not too worried about hitting the brick and whatnot here because as I go, that will all get cleaned up with weathering techniques. Alright, so you may have noticed that I got some overspray on the colors and stuff like that, and there's some color still catching in some of the areas. I'm not really worried about that too much about that, and you'll see as I come through to do some weathering how that cleans that up. Alright, for my wood I'm going to use a mix. It's oak brown with some bleach bone in it, basically to lighten it up a bit. Any brown would totally suffice. Now that the wood is all painted, I'm just going to use what's left of this brown to do some color modulation on the roof and like some stain spots. Okay, now I'm just gonna do I got a brown wash in the gun, and I'm just gonna do some more color modulation for rust effects or for weathering effects. This is a pretty easy blast wherever you feel like it. And this is a lot of time where I do the shadowing in here to erase the overspray from doing the metals and stuff. All right, and now there's some serious aging process going on here. I'm just gonna do one more quick highlight on my wood and then it's ready for a wash. All right, that's it for the wood. One more stage, I'm gonna water down heavily a dark green and use it for some rotting sort of areas. Okay, so I got Caliban green in the brush, which I've watered down about twice over what you would normally do. And so it's sort of a wash consistency. And now this I'm gonna use for, again, weathering effect and rotting out the wood. All right, I'm pretty happy with that for a bunch of color modulation here. Lots of rot, lots of wear, fairly simple process. So the last step, well, almost the last step anyhow, is to just give it the pigment wash, which is kind of like a magic wash, and it'll do a lot of work, which you'll see shortly. All right, for the pigment wash, I just got some dark brown pigment, burnt umber here that I'm gonna use. Normally I have a black, which I forgot, so I'm just gonna use a little bit of black watercolor, which is basically a pre-watered pigment. Now I'm not going to use very much of this because it goes a long way. And then I'll just put in a couple shakes of pigment for the wash here. And then water that down quite heavily, like so. Mix that up again because I want the water to push the pigment into cracks, into recesses, pull it down, all that sort of stuff. You use a lot of water because the water is just a delivery system to put the pigment somewhere, basically. Do a little chest piece, make sure that it's flowing the way I want, and you can see it falls off quite quickly. So some people at this point might do a clear coat to protect it or whatever. I want to change the color of a lot of this stuff. I want it to be dark and old looking, so I'm not going to do that. So now you're basically just taking the pigment, wash, and hammering it home. So you'll see it looks quite dramatic when you put it on here, but when you have it watered enough, you sort of have to trust the pigment to do its job. And this side was the first side that I did, and it's already pulled down a whole lot.